Hello and welcome to Sik'ar Reviews, and I will be reviewing this tiny thing. I've never been a fan of Small Vitolas. Not that, it's small. It's the fact that I feel sort of ripped off when I pay the same price for a really small, tiny cigar that I can hold like that, and that looks like it's going to take me half an hour to smoke, and I pay the same price for it as I pay for something like a Churchill, which should take for quite a while. Anyways, just a little history on myself there, why I don't usually smoke the smaller sizes, yet I do really enjoy the flavors of the smaller sizes oftentimes, and the earthiness only comes in a small size, much like many of the acids, and I guess it could be worth it anyways. They're highly popular, so they wouldn't be on the market if they weren't. Interesting thing about acid cigars is that when it comes to them, most of them come in one size based on the type. So like the earthiness only comes in this 5x42 Corona. The nasty only comes in that, it changes name if it changes Vitola. Kind of like the deep dish, the Cuba Cuba, the Blondie, etc. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this going. I'm using a V-cut on this. I like V-cuts usually on smaller cigars that seem firm. And as you see, no tearing of the... This seemed to be a very firm cigar, so... And it's a smaller Vitola, so that should work. Okay. Now, the earthiness is classified as being the fullest bodied cigar in the acid lineup. It is part of the Holistic Gold line, and I'll talk in a minute about that. It is, now I'm going to say this multiple times, it is a Sumatran wrapper. A Sumatran wrapper. It is Ecuadorian Sumatran wrapper. Now, why am I making a point of this being a Sumatran wrapper? I'll tell you. Many of the cigar shops online who are selling these, including Puff.com, who's not selling them, list this as a Cameroon wrapper. They think this is a cameo. Drew Estate and their own website list this as a Sumatran wrapper, an Ecuadorian Sumatran wrapper. No one from Drew Estate has listed anywhere that it's a Cameroon wrapper. So, where Puff.com got that, where websites that have followed in the footsteps of Puff.com and said it's a Cameroon wrapper have gotten that, I haven't a clue. So, if you're looking at wrappers, this is a Sumatran wrapper. It has a Nicaraguan long filler. And according to Famous Smoke Shop and maybe another 3 or 4 dozen sites that actually copy word for word verbatim exactly what Famous Smoke Shop has on their site, also list this as having native Indian filler. I don't know what they mean by that. There is nothing from Drew Estate that talks about a native Indian filler. There is no news article that talks about their new line with a native Indian filler and what that native Indian filler is. I'm really thinking that a lot of these sites are just miming Famous. Maybe Famous is miming someone else. I don't know. But there's no proof that there's native Indian fillers in here. It is an aged Nicaraguan binder, and that I can tell you is true. Well, with that said, I'm going to go ahead to the next section of this. Oh, I'm stuffed up today. So, anyways, it's a very kind of lightish brown wrapper. It could very well look like a Cameroon. because of that, but it is not. Looks can be deceiving. Let's see. That'll start to focus. As you can see, you got a stem there. You got a stem there. But I do not see the seams for the wrapping very well on here. Here I go. I can see it there. But otherwise, it looks like a very stellar cigar. No cracking, so it doesn't sound dry at all. Because these are infused with botanicals, in other words, the humidity in the room has had all these spices and various different things put into them that when the moistures go up into the room, they come down and they infuse the tobacco with flavor instead of soaking leaves or spraying it on. And some of them taste like they have almost no infusion at all. Like the Acid Nasty that's classified as infused, but I wouldn't. So, now, Johnny Sticks has told me this before. Almost every one of Drew Estate's cigars smells like patchouli off the wrapper. I'm very inclined to agree. It has a patchouli scent to it. Dry puff's a little tight. Kind of has a rather earthy flavor with some sweetness. No scent off the foot. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and fire this up. I should do the history lesson while I'm puffing, but or the background. And that way I could get going on this a lot sooner. Straight up sugar, very sweet. Mostly the taste of the tip. It has to have a sweetened tip, I would assume, on top of the infusion. Now, I just said, a little spice kick in. So, I just said I should probably light this up beforehand. And there's two reasons why I'm not sure what to do here. One is, some of you might tune in just to get the facts and information. My notes, etc. Others of you might tune in to actually hear what I have to say about the cigar more than the notes. So, if I do the notes first, then I save you guys some time because you could just shut off when I get to smoking the cigar. And if you turn in for my notes or my feelings on the cigar, then I make you have to wait. But if I switch them, well, the opposite is true. I wonder. This is a holistic gold line, as I said. There's some nice tastiness in there. Holistic in the first place means regarding a whole or an entirety, not just a part of. So, if you want to take a holistic approach to my channel, you'd have to take it all in, every little bit of it, because it doesn't work alone in separate pieces. So, my feelings on the cigar is part of the whole instead of just being a part. So, anyways, the Holistic Gold Series. It would mean, essentially, that the cigar you should look at in the whole is all things combined, rather than the wrapper, the tobaccos, the smoke, all being separated. It would not be the same without the smoke. It wouldn't be the same without the fillers. It wouldn't be the same without the cap. It wouldn't be the same without the band. I'm not smoking the band, though. Trust me, I'm going to remove that part, acid. I'm still mostly getting the sugar, and there's a tobacco flavor in the background that I'm trying to pick up, and just can't get it. Instead, I feel like a person drinking my teacup with my pinky out. So, anyways, I suppose I'll get back to you in the halfway point of this. Maybe I'll have some other information for you. I don't know what I might bring you on this as something additional, but I'll find something. So, stay tuned and see you soon. Hello, and welcome to the halfway point of the acid earthiness. Yeah, I found some information for y'all. I should do this in an acid section, and maybe one day I'll do just a video on acid cigars without doing a review. After all, it's more material. So, anyways, the term, I was talking to you about holistic and the fact that it's a whole. And earthiness is essentially a word meaning to having characteristics of the world or pertaining to the earth, such as flavor. When you look at it as a holistic point, essentially what it's saying is this is of the earth, it is a whole of the earth, it is a part of the earth, you are experiencing the earth through this, which makes it a spiritual connection. And not just a physical one, or even being a part of just the earth or what we're smoking or us around us, etc. It's a bigger picture than that. And so I kind of actually really like the name of the acid earthiness for that point. Given that it's part of the holistic brand, there's 3 different flavors, types in the holistic. I didn't write those down, so maybe I'll do that in the final part. I found this interesting is, according to a website called New Air, Jonathan Drew himself made a statement that machine-made cigars are garbage and that they are a virus that must be exterminated. Regardless of whether he said it, I think it's interesting to call machine-made cigars a virus that must be eliminated. I sometimes have this feeling myself because, being a cigar smoker, the machine-made cigars are essentially what ends up giving the bad name to premium handmade cigars. Kids don't buy these. Kids do buy Black & Milds, which are technically pipe tobacco with a leaf inserted into a artificial paper binder that's supposed to be a cigar. You got, blunts and stuff. Kids essentially don't buy them to smoke anyways. They usually just cut them up and stick other things in it. But I think that they're a plague upon the cigar industry. Just as cigarette tobacco companies were a plague on the pipe tobacco companies because they started trying to use the pipe tobacco tax classes to try to get their tobaccos through at lower costs. So essentially allowing their buyers to skirt the high taxes, which ended up making it in my state where you can't even order pipe tobacco online because a kid might be ordering it, and cigarette tobaccos are sometimes classified as pipe tobaccos. However, New Air also put that the earthiness is a Cameroon wrapper, which means they didn't have their facts straight. They didn't get this information straight from Jonathan Drew, and I don't know where their sources were. They just quoted him, and so another interesting thing is that acid cigars net nearly $12 million a year from sales. That's a smaller number than I would have thought. I like facts. I like stats. Now, another thing is the name acid. I always had a feeling that it had this thing to do with being trippy and far out and, well, dosing, acid, drugs. And it still actually might. The name actually is derived from a guy named Scott Chester, whose nickname is Acid. And his artwork is a form of like urban graffiti. And it's actually the logo that you see with the silhouette leaning against the bike. It's actually a self-portrait of himself leaning against a motorcycle, because one of the things he'll do is he'll take a motorcycle and paint it plaid. Or he'll paint little wires all over it, so the entire thing's a tangled mess of wires that look like somebody went haywire with yellow, blue, red, and green balls of yarn and tied it all over the bike. He's also got his own clothing line now called just Acid New York City, or NYC, Acid NYC. Interesting website. Kind of hard to follow what his actual art is. Even going and looking at images of his art, it's hard to tell. But, you know, that's where the name came from. And more than likely his nickname came from something, you know, else too. I had a good friend that we used to call Day Tripper, because he'd take acid in the morning and go to school with it. And, well, we all thought that was kind of weird and bizarre, so he ended up getting a nickname, Day Tripper. So it could just be that the guy got the nickname Acid because he was doing tons of it. Don't know. I know nothing about the guy. Interesting artwork. I will say that this has a very interesting hard ash. But the other thing is, as good as it is, I'm also noticing there's parts that just do not want to burn. I actually have required a little touch-up because of something like that. Now, I'm not going to touch it up quite yet. I'm going to give it a minute, but I almost feel like the draw needs to open up on this too. So, anyways, flavors are kind of a cinnamon in the background, maybe a tad bit of clove, still rather sweet, some earthy flavors that are definitely underneath, like soil, and it's been pleasing so far. I just wish that it would burn evenly. It's a rather demanding cigar too. It doesn't really want you to sit it down. And yeah, this is just... that's actually a pretty bad one. I don't think this is going to fix itself, but we'll give it a try. I think it's the botanicals used in this. They've seeped into the outer wrapper, and you start canoeing and tunneling, etc., because of oils that have not dried enough on the wrapper, so the wrapper ends up too moist to technically burn. In fact, some people will sit there and try to slow down their cigar by licking the cigar or whatever, but that tends to actually just cause this. It also causes the wrapper to bunch and dry, and it's not a good idea to do. But yeah, I just knocked off my ass to see how it's doing. That would have been a tunnel of... I hate doing this. But there's really no option. That is one of few times you will ever see me fix a cigar. It does not happen very often. And it's kind of upsetting to me when it's such a small Vitola to end up having that happen. But, you know, sometimes things happen. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the band here. There's kind of a little leathery note in here too, but the primary thing is just earth. It does fit with its name, earthiness, even though the predominant flavors are still cinnamon and clove, and kind of that patchouli-ish type smell, that flavor that comes from most of the Drew Estate line. Well, I've made this like a 20-minute video so far, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to you in the final third, and I'll avoid any more tidbits of information. I'll just let you know how this goes at the end of that. So, see you shortly. Hello, welcome back to the final third of this acid earthiness. A lot of the sweetness is worn off, and I will try to keep this quick because I don't want you, hundreds of hours of watching my videos. It's got quite more earth flavors coming forward. Very kind of loamy soil or tree barkish. Yet at the same time, it's still got a lot of that cinnamon flavor. The clove is kind of worn off, but it's got a feeling of clove that kind of lingers within the mouth, and a bit of spice too. Very appealing cigar. Definitely would recommend this. It has a very crunchy, hard, firm ash. It does have, well, I only had the one burn issue that you saw earlier. A good smoke output. Slightly tight draw. I'm not too keen on. And that could just be that the V-cut that I used wasn't a clean cut. It looks okay though, but maybe if I had a toothpick and popped a few holes, it'd be okay. When I say that, I don't mean taking the toothpick and ramming it as far up as you can, but just kind of pricking the end of it a bit. That sometimes will open up where a V-cut will end up causing the tobacco to bunch and make it tight. It's been well worth the money, even though I didn't buy this. Thank you, Johnny Sticks, for the donation. But I do believe these come to about $6 or $7 a stick on average. It's not something that I would have paid that price for at this Vitola. But it's been a very pleasing, very pleasant flavor. I've not had an issue with any acid cigars on that. It is one I would have just skipped past, though, because I just wouldn't have paid that. Now, on the other hand, now that I've tried it, I think I very well would pick up one of these. So, if you're kind of afraid, like I have been, about the size and the price for the size, don't worry about it. It's actually enjoyable. You'll still get a good hour smoke out of it. I've had Robustos that burn less time than this. So, if you're trying to compare it to a Robusto, and you say, oh, well, this is just too small. It's the same length as a Robusto, but it's thinner than a Robusto, so I'll just buy a Robusto. This is actually just as long burning or more so, depending on what you get. So, with all that said, please add and subscribe. Leave questions, comments, feedback, and suggestions. I definitely would like suggestions. More so for, what type of videos you'd like to see on histories, etc. Because I review what I can review. I don't have tons of money, so what I get is what I get. And I probably won't be doing Opus X's or anything like that because I just cannot afford them. But anyways, if you've smoked this, leave comments to what you thought of it. Just keep things nice, is all I ask, and enjoy every puff.